Hey guys.
Monica here yet?
I don't see her here right now.
Okay. Well, maybe while we're wait a couple minutes to see if she can come in. I'm Kathleen Welch. I'm in the Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina area. I'm just curious in the audience of those of you staying, would you raise your hands? How many of you would consider yourself new agents, maybe a year, 18 months into your real estate career? Okay, so a pretty good number.
Wow, that's a lot.
A lot. Okay.
Yeah.
How many of you? That's awesome. How many of you have been in longer than that, but maybe haven't reached ICON, maybe struggle to cap or get a little over cap and can't quite get to the ICON level? Why don't you raise your hands? Okay, so a couple. Okay. So let's see. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat as we go. Okay, so how many of you are brand new to real estate, totally, less than a year? Okay, well, you've picked an awesome but challenging time. Okay, and how many are new to EXP but have been in the industry for a while? Okay. We have a pretty good mix. David, did you know what Monica was going to lead on, or should we?
I'll tell you what. Why don't you and I just lead this thing, because I think we were on a panel recently together. Right?
Yes, we were.
All right, let's rock it. So
okay.
why don't we chat a little bit more, seeing as there's so many people who are brand new to real estate. I just got done with an interview right now with a major producer in my market, and I'd love to talk a little bit about what kind of got you started, Kathleen, when you were just getting started in the business and the way that you just accelerated your career. So was it online leads? Was it the sphere of network marketing? What was it?
Okay, so to give you all a little background, I'm about 4.5 years into my real estate career. I started straight with EXP, and we had moved to Greenville, and I literally had zero sphere. I mean, no one. So I had to buy leads. Now, initially, I started with Op City, which of course you pay when you close, right? So that was a great one. And it was also a challenge because, quite frankly, when you first start, they give you really crappy leads. But in hindsight, the beauty of that was I learned to talk to people. I learned how to ask questions. And I also learned how to very quickly add value to make them trust me. And that's a critical skill. After that, I did do Zillow for a while. My goal was to get off in 3 years. I've dramatically reduced, and I'll probably be off Zillow in the next 3 months. But you have to have a game plan to have multiple lead sources. And you really have to, again, what the last presenter was talking about, you have to time block. And I don't care if it's consistently first thing in the morning or late in the day, or just 1 or 2 hours a day, time block. When are you doing lead generation? I found it took me 6 to 9 months to build enough of a pipeline that I started to have steady and consistent transactions. And that's just being incredibly disciplined.
What do you mean? So a lot of times, Kathleen, there's people who join my team and they're like, well, what do you mean by lead generation? We just say this word over and over and over. So what are some specifics that you would do, and a specific conversation that you would talk about to that group or to whoever that a brand new agent could kind of get started with today? And then I'll answer that question as well.
Okay. Well, again, each generation can take a couple of different channels. What you're really looking for is how can you connect with somebody who is what I would call a warm or hot lead. They want a hot lead is they want to close in less than 3 months. Okay. And if you think about closing in 30 to 45 days, that doesn't give you a lot of time to find a house in this crazy market. Warm lead to me is anywhere from 3 months to maybe 6 or 7 months. So I still need to talk with them, but they're not quite ready to go hit the ground running unless it's quote unquote the perfect house. And when you're dealing with Op City, they're calling in. You've got to learn to have those conversations. Same with Zillow. But if you're going out through your volunteer activities, through your kids are in school and in sporting events, your church, wherever you have a group of friends, your sphere, you have to start really asking, who's interested in making a purchase, who maybe wants a second home. And it doesn't even have to be in your area because you can get money through referrals. But you also really need to learn how to start talking about the market in your area, add value, give them something of value, talk about what's going on with interest rates, what's going on with new construction, how your market's being impacted. Give them some info to make them realize you're serious, you know what you're talking about, and then start to ask for the referrals for the business.
Yeah, that's great. I'll give a couple of real life examples of what we're doing right now in order to, help people. If you're brand new in the business, just understand. So number one, if you're in an area and you want to niche down, you want to say, hey, listen, I want to focus on a couple of neighborhoods here. One of the most informative ways to help your clients is to actually inform them about the properties that are selling in the local market. And so we've gotten on with a program called HomeBot, and it gives us a great idea. So, to get, an idea for what people's houses are worth. But the power of the tool is that you get to go behind the scenes and actually edit in the value. And that's been really, really good. So, in that, what a lot of our team agents have been doing is being able to walk neighborhoods, knock on doors, and just inform people about what's happening in the real estate market. And we think of it and we take it for granted that, there's, everyone knows how hot the real estate market is. That's not honestly true. Some people will say, well, we hear it's really busy, but they're not really certain what the value of their homes are. And so we have brand new people taking a bunch of listings because they're walking the neighborhoods, knocking on doors and just saying, hey, listen, we just want to let you know that a house sold down the street. Or, hey, just to let you know, we're listing a house in this neighborhood and there's going to be an open house and there's going to be a lot of cars. And we just want to inform you that things are going to be pretty busy. We usually set a record for the prices of homes. And did you know that this house is getting listed for this? Do you have any idea how that impacts your home? That's a great little script to start with. And they're like, no, I have no idea. And you're like, okay, great. Well, honestly, we've got this really cool tool. If you don't mind just test driving it, that'd be pretty great. And there's a little cute QR code and people do it and they pop it in on their phone. And then the response immediately is, hey, was the value that it indicated higher or lower than what you expected? And these are all questions that don't end in yes or no answers. They all end in some sort of conversation that you can have. And many people will say, oh, wow, that was lower than what I expected, or that's higher than what I expected. And you say, great. Well, honestly, I'd love to actually, tweak that a little bit. Do you mind if I tell you, or do you mind if you tell me, have you done any updates to your kitchen? Have you ever done any of this? All of a sudden, people start to brag about their house. They're like, oh my gosh, I just really redid my kitchen. Why don't you come on inside and take a look at it? And you go on inside and, you give them a business card and you walk through and then all of a sudden you're starting to get some information. Now you say, well, wow, I have a lot more information on this. I'd love to update your value when I get back to the office, et cetera. And then you ask the question, well, when was the next time you thought of moving? And then they can go into a process where they're now saying to themselves, oh, you know what? I didn't think about moving. Oh, did you know that you had this much equity in your property? I had no idea that I had over 100,000 or 200,000 in the property. Fantastic. Well, where would I move is the next question. So you start to answer that where you're like, well, hey, listen, all I need to do is know exactly what you're looking for. What would you like in your next house? And these are natural conversations pieces where now you've got leads on leads on leads through people, and it's not that hard, guys. All you need to do is be able to understand, print out a bunch of the sales that are in a local neighborhood, sign up for a program like HomeBot. It's literally $25 a month. I think any of you guys could probably swing that for 2 months until you close a deal. And if not, do some showing assistance for some people and make some bucks. And then on top of that, just walk those neighborhoods and start doing that every day. Make that your part of your lead generation. Imagine if you budgeted for your time 3 to 4 hours and then try to fit everything else in. Because when you're brand new, how many deals are you doing? You got maybe one under contract. You can handle that transaction in an hour a day or less. And the rest of the time you could spend getting your steps in and knocking on some doors. So hopefully that's a little bit of help for some day-to-day. That's what you can do.
Okay, David, first of all, Bob showed up, but I want to tag team on what David just said. If you can't afford HomeBot or you're not tech savvy, we have a free one called RPR, and you can get very familiar with that, being able to edit that and send that to people as well about their home value. But like David, I stress, hey, it's a range. I have to see your home. I need to know more about what you're doing. And if they say, well, I'm not really ready to move, we were talking about renovating. My next response is, awesome, I've renovated too, but have you looked at what the latest consumer trends are? And they're like, well, no, just HGTV. I'm like, well, that's great, but you know what? The best way for you to judge what you should have in your house is actually new construction. They spend millions of dollars every year judging what is the best products. Why don't we go see a new construction home? No harm, no foul. You would be amazed at how many people, once they get out and see what's going on in new construction, suddenly get home fever and decide, hey, instead of spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to renovate my kitchen, maybe I'd rather put that money in a down payment and buy a new house. So get very familiar with who's building in your area. Go walk some of those properties. Go make friends with the reps in there and start to understand what price points they're at, what features they have, what styles they have, because they've already done a lot of homework, and it's a great tool. It's an absolutely great tool to get people to get out and look at a house.
Fantastic. Well, it looks like we have Bob here. Bob, what's happening, man?
He said he was here.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Great.
Hello,
hey,
hello.
We're just we're playing this family style here because we're all the moderators today, I guess, right?
yeah. Right on. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we got you good. It's good.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I see we're jumping in. I see we're jumping in the pool head first here, scripting and whatnot, which is great. So,
yeah, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, Minnesota. We're in Minnesota. Production levels. What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Minnesota team lead here. 15 agents on the squad. We're actually right in the Stillwater area of Minnesota. For those of you who don't know that, it's right in the St. Croix River Valley, so we're also licensed to Wisconsin. So we are doing about 40% of our transactions in Wisconsin, the other 60 in Minnesota. Right now, we are production level. Last year, we did about 160 million in production, about 287 transactions. So I've been in the business for 22 years in this marketplace. So yeah, it's probably like many other markets where we're low inventory right now. Price appreciation is going through the roof. So a lot of unique things going on, compared to what we've been used to over the last, 20 so years. So, yeah, that's kind of a summary of who I am and the team, and, happy to answer, any questions some of the audiences might have, but we'll just kind of keep jumping on here and moving along and providing hopefully some valued data to the group.
Cool. That's rad. So in this coming, months, there's a lot of buyers who are out there, and they're asking this question: should I wait? It's a very common script, and if you're a new agent and you don't know how to handle that, that's going to be highly impactful to your business. The next one is going to be, where do I go if I don't see another house on the market and you're a seller? So maybe Bob, you want to take this and just are you handling that script of maybe I'm going to wait till the market to, for the market to cool?
Absolutely. So, obviously we're getting that quite a bit right now. And really from our perspective, it's a matter of determining what's their motivating factor of moving in the first place. Are they moving to, get their kids in a different school system? Are they moving to upgrade into a different neighborhood? Are they, you got to get the answers to that question to be able to kind of respond back to them. But, I'm pretty frank with a lot of the people that I talk to, and, sometimes people make decisions as if they're going to live forever, right? The reality is that we're not going to live forever. And, now's a good time in a lot of cases to make that move. Not necessarily, if you try to time the market, you're going to miss the market. So understanding what their true motivation for the move is a key piece. And also making sure you're educating them on the market, because sometimes they may not really understand true fact as far as what's going on. They might say, well, there's low inventory, I'm never going to find what I'm looking for, or interest rates are too high. Well, the reality is there's some really good, and we use, I don't know if you guys use this as well, but we use keepingcurrent.com as kind of a great resource for us to provide statistical data on the market that helps counteract some of these high interest rate questions, low inventory questions, and really help you kind of script it. But my script is not very scripted. It's pretty much, conversational based, hitting that emotion with the buyers and the sellers for that matter. Because another thing that we're dealing with, as I'm sure you guys are as well, as probably most of the people in the audience are, is low inventory, and sellers don't know where they want to go, right? So we're having a lot of conversation around rent back agreements. We're having a lot of conversation around extended closing dates. We're having, where we're making them feel like they're in charge of the negotiations, because quite frankly, they are. So those are basically a lot of the conversations we're having within our group to get people kind of off the fence, for lack of a better term. And I think really kind of hitting home with the emotional reason as to why they're moving. And, there's other products out there from a mortgage perspective as well. We're doing a lot of 10-1 ARM stuff right now, where we're still in the 4.25% interest rate pieces. So they're saving some money there as well. So it's just knowing the mortgage products that are available. It's knowing the emotional triggers of the buyers and the sellers, and really kind of hammering that down.
If I can piggyback on what Paul just said, first of all, I use Keeping Current Matters also. And I usually every month have 2 or 3 screenshots of their slides that I just kind of keep handy. But you're probably going to find that you're going to get the same 3, 4, or 5 questions from people at the same time, like, interest rate too high. Well, no, they're actually still at or below historical averages. The housing market is going to crash, whatever it is. We all want it to be conversational. We want to build rapport. But part of your job, or how I look at my job, is I need to have 2 or 3 data-driven bullet points in my head about how I respond to those. And that's where sometimes I have the data, or I know enough to refer to the data. Like, we're 8 million houses short across all of the United States because of people not building since the crash in 2008. We all know about the supply chain. So there are ways you can start to have that conversation of, hey guys, big picture, it's not the way you think it is. Locally, here's what's really going on. Please don't listen to the national media, because they're just distraught. And if you can have that conversation, that builds that rapport and trust, and all of a sudden other conversations happen. Hey, come, like David said, come look at my house. Let's go look at new construction and see what's going on. But you have to find a way to build that rapport and build their confidence that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And so are you guys telling buyers right now to just hop in? I know you had said if you time the market, you're going to miss it. What are you specifically telling those buyers?
What am I specifically telling them?
Yeah, what are you specifically telling those buyers? Hey, we think we're going to just wait and let it cool off.
I tell them right now that, first of all, because of the 8 million houses short. If you don't know it, in 2008, after the crash, a lot of the builders way cut back. And so even if the whole COVID supply chain issue hadn't happened, we were about 8 million houses short. And all of a sudden, the millennials who have been waiting to buy houses now started to jump in. So there was a crunch coming anyway, and it got exacerbated by what happened. That's not disappearing anytime soon. So supply is constrained. Interests are still at or below historical averages, but interest rates are going to go up. So prices are going to continue to go up on houses, all things being equal, because of the supply. Interest rates are going to keep going up. Again, if you're waiting for it to correct and crash, you're going to miss out. And when you do finally get back in, it's going to be even more expensive. So if you're debating, let's get going. Let's at least go look. Let's see if we can find something that works for the monthly payment you want to have. And that's how I start talking that conversation. And that usually takes them back. If you're listening to popular mainstream media, a lot of them are predicting that things are going to crash, correct. We're at a bubble, and that is not really the case if you look at the fundamentals.
Right, that's right. So how about if someone is looking for a place that, hey, they want to move, but they have no place to go, they're a seller. So what would you suggest to them if they want to move, but they don't have a place to go? What's the dialogue around that?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So, our sellers right now is, first of all, you can negotiate an offer based upon the sellers finding a home of their choice. So we offer that option up as well, especially buyers in our market here. It's all about acquiring a home. So you got to kind of work through the delicacy of the buy, knowing that the buyers potentially have a timeline they're working with, knowing that the sellers can't take forever to find what they're looking for. But again, it's not always going to work out. But for the most part, what we've seen in our marketplace is just allowing those sellers a 2 to 3 month rent back period where they can either figure out a rental situation or acquire the home that they want to move into is getting them to move, especially knowing that they're getting these fantastic prices for their homes right now. So that I think driving that home to them, knowing that, hey, we're at a market right now that you really are taking advantage of the higher pricing. And if you do want to make a move, there's some other options on the other side we can work through until you do find that home of your choice. So rent back options are big, extended closings are big, as well as negotiating the offer, subject to the seller finding a home of their choice.
And that's interesting really because I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say in my market, none of that is happening. And probably because we have too many people moving in from out of state. So our name of the game is helping them find temporary housing. So
wow. And is there temporary housing? Do you guys have agreements with short-term rentals, et cetera?
No, I just know of certain corporate sources in the area, and that is part of the conversation we have before we list the house. But the idea is they're getting top dollar. In a lot of cases, they know where they want to go. They've found something. We can sell their house pretty quickly. So the bigger challenge is getting a seller to accept a contingent offer. It's already under contract. It's probably going to have a quick due diligence or inspection period. And if we can make that happen, then part of the cost is we need to get you temporary housing. So gotcha. Every market's different. You just have to know what's going on in your market and how to make that work.
Yeah. So for those of us who are potentially utilizing online leads as a resource or other programs that are out there, have there been any programs for you that have just been really paramount in supplementing your business beyond sphere of influence?
We are, for us, we buy leads through Zillow. So we spend roughly $12,000 a month on Zillow. For us, and I think I heard Kathleen saying she's kind of weaning her way off of there. We're kind of doing the same thing as well. Eventually we'll get there because we are really working our databases through referral sphere. And we're also doing a little bit more farming, both on the electronic side and on the postcard side. But with that being said, back when we first started working with Zillow Pay for Leads, zip codes, we were getting anywhere from about 4.5 to 5% or 5 to 1 on a returns. Now we're getting about 1.5 to 1, which from my perspective, if I can spend $1 and get $1.50 back, that's still decent, right? And and those leads do turn into referrals as well to other potential home buyers and sellers. So we're still utilizing the Zillow program. We do a little bit with Realtor.com. We also have done some stuff with OpCity, which is basically Realtor.com's platform as well. So those have been the ones that have worked out real well for us, that we're still investing in.
Yeah, I still have Zillow, but what I would say is Zillow started a Zillow Flex program in my area. And what I've noticed is they skim the best leads off the top. And that has dramatically changed the ROI, as Bob mentioned. And so I personally just have a hard time feeling like I'm underwriting their Flex program and they're not giving me the quality of leads that I got before. But I've been in other businesses, and it gets back to, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to have at least 3, and I would say probably 5 different ways you're getting leads, be it farming a neighborhood or 2, working your sphere, volunteering, buying Zillow, doing OpCity, whatever it is, you need to have multiple lead sources and work them consistently. I mean, that's the name of the game. You can have 20, but if you're not working them consistently, it means nothing.
Yeah, consistency is the key. Scheduling that time in your calendar every day to prospect, whether it be reaching out to your database, whether it be, following up with your online leads, whether it be designing your postcards to get out, whatever that lead generation activity, it don't exist if it's not on your schedule.
Yeah. So how motivation for you guys? You obviously you run a team, Bob, and you're doing a great amount of business as well. How do you stay motivated, especially for those other 15 people there? Like, what are you doing to build into yourself, both for personal development and professional development? You there? You guys there? Oop, looks like I may have lost these guys.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. How about for yourself, Kathleen? How do you stay on with personal and professional development?
Okay. Well, I am a big one for podcast, or I've talked about this before. I have Amazon Prime, and I pull a book about every week or every 2 weeks. I don't try to read books cover to cover anymore. What I try to do is particularly figure out if there's a chapter or 2 chapters that I think are really relevant to an issue that I'm facing, a challenge I'm facing. I often try to ask when I'm in other mastermind groups or in different Facebook groups, what books people have read, what they like, what do they like about it. And that's kind of my clue, or something that somebody mentions in a podcast. But if you're not trying to learn something new every week, trying to get a different perspective, it's very hard to grow. For me, it was great to grow and become Icon my 2nd year and my 3rd year, and I'm on track to get it this year. But I also realize I feel like I'm at a wall, and how do I get my next big growth step up? Be it a team, be it hiring more people, doing a virtual team, whatever it is, and with the market changing. And if you're not motivated to go out and keep building your business and keep improving, you're going to have a really hard time staying relevant in this business. So for me, it's just a personal challenge. How do I keep my business going and getting better?
Yeah. For you guys who are, how many years have you been with EXP, Kathleen? I think it was on the last panel, you said it was 2 into 3. Is that right?
No, this is my fourth year.
Awesome. Okay. And how about you, Bob?
This is going on year number 4. My 3-year anniversary was April 1st.
That's awesome. Awesome. So for you guys, do you have any particular advice for those agents who, are getting into EXP? They're brand new, because Kathleen did such a smart move and pulled the room, and so many of these, 140 people here have raised their hand that they're brand new. What was one thing at EXP that you were like, oh, okay, there's a zillion offerings here, but this one thing was super helpful for me when I came, that maybe a new agent could plug into? And then if you guys don't mind, after you answer that, we're kind of going to go to the chat, because there's a bunch of questions. I know, Kathleen, you have a couple of questions there.
I'm trying to get to those.
Well, while you're doing that, Kathleen, I can kind of jump in here, give you a little time to answer those questions. So, one of the things that we did was highly encouraged our new agents to enroll in the stock purchase program. So for every deal that they did, they got an opportunity to obviously contribute up to 5% of their commission check to buy EXP common stock. And that has been fun watching, although the stock's obviously taken a bit of a hit here. It's been kind of fun watching them basically grow their accounts from that perspective. But the other thing too with EXP is take advantage of all the trainings in events such as this. It's just such a great resource, and that should be hitting your calendar every week, where you're going out to EXP and doing the trainings, hopping in on these ICONversations, because there's some really good information out there with really high producing agents. I was with Remax for 20 years, and we really enjoyed the Remax brokerage. One thing that we found, though, is we were kind of the producers within the office, and we didn't really have anybody to kind of look at leveling up our business to that next level, like Kathleen was talking about. As soon as we joined this EXP environment, all of a sudden we had access to all of these agents, teams, brokers that are doing far more business than we have done. And we've plugged into that, and that has helped us out tremendously. So take advantage of these great online resources that EXP has provided us.
That's awesome.
Okay, and so I would say the stock program too. That's a big thing. Even though the stock is down right now, it's going to go back up. So it's a great time to buy. For me, though, it was the collaboration when I first started, just being able to reach out to other people that were either in the same boat or maybe a little bit ahead of me gave me great comfort. I didn't feel like I was having to figure out how to build a boat and row it at the same time. But right now, it's really, again, about trying to go out and benchmark and talk to people who are 1 or 2 steps ahead of me, and what have they done to grow their business. Now, I will tell you, in all honesty, sometimes I walk away and go, that's not how I want to grow my business. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But every now and then you find a nugget that you're like, oh, that is really cool. For example, I resisted hiring an assistant. I was like, I have a TC. I'm great at doing this. I'm very organized. And what came out after talking to so many people was, I have to have an assistant. I have to take everything off my plate in order to do that big step change I just mentioned a little while ago. I cannot do it all. And that, I don't think I would have had the courage to commit to hiring someone at that salary for a year if I had not had that collaboration. So part of this is take advantage of that training, go benchmark people. A lot of people here, including myself, are willing to talk to you, willing to share. You can message me through workplace and I'm happy to help. But I would also say have the courage to jump in and start swimming. Swim as hard as you can, because this is a great business once you get your engine up and running.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Kathleen. Very cool. You guys are nuggets. Great stuff. Oh, we're happy to be nuggets for you guys. So, okay. So, getting a little bit further and deeper in on the mentorship level. So, for myself, a lot of what I spend my time doing is coaching real estate agents to make over $100,000 within their first year. Like that's my big goal. People partner with me all the time on that. And business planning is one of the most important things to that. So for yourselves, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your business planning. I'll kind of take the question with that. We started out, we have this thing called the Path to Success that I developed. And I will put my here in the chat if you guys want, and you can up there on Instagram, or you can hit me here and I can send you a copy if you'd like. And this is just like it's a business plan template. And the idea is to have something that specifies what you're doing monthly and yearly. And it's a breakdown between those large strategies that you have and the steps for each strategy. And that breaks down into this yearly plan. We then overlay that with your calendar, and that's a way that we can stay committed not only on a yearly basis, quarterly, monthly, but on a daily basis. So what is it that you do, Kathleen? What is it that you do, Bob, in order to really dig in with a business plan? When do you do that business plan? Like what time of the year do you do it for the next year? And how do you stay committed and accountable to it?
Well, my rollover date is October 1st. And so somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but definitely before New Year's, I revisit my numbers and really plan out. I have a background in strategic planning, and the one thing I've learned through that is I keep it very simple. If you make it way too complicated and too many metrics, it gets crazy. Of course, I have an income goal as everybody else does because you want to pay your bills and go on vacation. But I keep mine to transactions. I try very hard not to get flustered with, did I have a $250,000 transaction this month, a $350,000, one I sold yesterday was $35,000 for a piece of land. So I try to focus on number of transactions because that's something I can hit. I can't control the price points per se. But what I also look at, and what you need to start tracking your first year, is how many conversations do you have to get someone before they will go out and go to a house with you, and how many people do you have to show houses to before you get somebody under contract? And then how many contracts do you have to, how many contracts, 1 out of 10 falls out, whatever those numbers are. If you really understand those numbers by the end of the first year, you can back into exactly what David's talking about. How many conversations a day do you have to have? How many new people a week do you have to have? I have a goal every day, but where I have a hard line is at the week, because I have two kids that are in sports. And some days, quite frankly, I get calls and I have to shuffle somebody to a game or a practice, and I get a little off track. So I do all my lead gen first thing in the morning because I can control it. But if I have to keep going or I have conversations, I don't go to bed on Sunday. I don't do anything until I hit my numbers, because what I do today is going to show up in my bank account in about 4 to 5 months. So if you have that knowledge,
so good.
You don't go to bed until you get it done.
So good. I wish more people had that relentless attitude in order to commit to those goals. Cool, man. Very, very cool. Bob, how about you, man?
Yeah. So, for us, same thing as Catherine, as far as the business planning goes. Usually by, the first part of December, I have a really good indication on numbers, meaning transactions, volume, and source. For us, source is the critical piece, right? So the source is what helps create the predictability within the business. And then, so we'll have, whether it's a sphere, a referral, repeat client, Zillow, whatever it might be, we can kind of see where our ROIs are on that. We use a product called Sisu. I don't know if anybody in the room's heard of that product, but it's great, especially for team leaders, to kind of manage the activities of the agents on the team. And basically every day, the agents go in there and record the conversations they've had, the appointments they've been on. It tracks all of our transactions, etc. So we know down to the conversation how many conversations you need to have to ultimately generate a deal. And for us, it's about 178 conversations that need to take place to generate one deal. So, the conversation is it could be a quick little conversation you have at a sporting event. It could be prospecting through your database. It could be a variety of different things, but we use Sisu to track that. And that is really the key indicators for us to build our plan into next year, to determine where we're going to continue to put marketing dollars, where we're maybe going to pull back some marketing dollars, where we're going to allocate more training resources, etc. Our group is extremely committed to training. So we do trainings with Tom Ferry. We do trainings with Bill Pipes. So we are very committed to what's on our schedule needs to take place. As Catherine mentioned, you need to have prospecting within your schedule, a minimum of 1 hour per day. If you're not doing that as a real estate agent, this is basically a hobby for you. So people aren't just going to come knocking on your door wanting to buy houses. You got to be proactive, especially in this particular marketplace. So we hit that home with our agents, provide them the training, provide them the scripting, and for us and for them, that's way more important than getting a Zillow lead. So some agent that comes to my team asks me right away how many leads I'm going to give them, they're not a good fit. So I'm going to teach them how to generate their own leads and make their business predictable year after year after year.
I would say one thing to do is set a number of conversations. 10. Start with 10. Start with 5. Pick a number. But every day have 5 or 10 deliberate conversations where you're either reaching out to your sphere, talking to somebody new, maybe it's in line at Starbucks, and somehow engage that person to make a connection and start a conversation, not with real estate necessarily at the beginning, but have that conversation and then be able to follow up with that person. 10, you'd be amazed if you did that for a month, what it would do for your business.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, we've got probably about 10, 15 more minutes or so. Are there any questions in the audience that you guys kind of want to walk through right now, especially if you're a newer agent? Kathleen, you do have some questions there. It says that you do some home office stuff, and did you hire a coach to help you? What about coaching for yourself, Kathleen?
I just started doing with Sean Cocosta, and I would recommend if you're a new agent, that's probably incredibly helpful. I would say I'm probably at the point where I need to go more the Tom Ferry route and get a personal coach. I realize that's something I probably need to do as well. But up to this point, no, I have not.
Gotcha. Cool. Networks at EXP, you guys are, I'm not sure what types of networks you're a part of, but some of the value, most people don't understand what an actual network is. And maybe for some people who are brand new in this company, maybe they came in and they were just, touted as EXP as a whole, it's a brokerage, and that's true. It's a wonderful brokerage. We've all been a part of perhaps other brokerages before, but one of the very unique things about EXP that I'm shocked that many of the recruits that I meet don't understand is that we have networks, and inside of those networks, they provide tons of value. For myself, I have a mastermind every single Monday, which I'm a part of with agents like Kyle Whistle and Dan Beer, who host that, and we get so much value out of just being a part of that and learning every week from each other. What kind of values do recommend to these younger agents, maybe who are in the business, and how to lean on those networks in order to provide help through their sponsors, through those levels of sponsors? What are some of the things that you guys have gained in value?
In my network, my upline is Jay and Ashley Nelson, and we have multiple conversations throughout the week where anybody can get on their Zoom calls. For example, Tuesday, we do one that's sales training, and people jump on and share what they're doing. They talk about their issues, and people make suggestions on how they can do it. We have another one that's Tech Thursday. We have another one on agent attraction. I would talk with your sponsor. I would reach out, but if that person is doing it, go up the tree, go up the ladder. I would be willing to bet you, because, for example, Jay and Ashley Nelson are 3 rungs above me. Okay. There's probably somebody in your upline who are doing these types of masterminds, and it is gold. It is gold every week. And I do everything I can to be on those calls, even if I'm in car line on my phone. It's amazing what you can learn and just figure out that's coming your direction, that how to get help.
Yeah,
we're doing the same thing on Wednesday mornings. We have our groups called the United Agents, and we have a mastermind every week with local agents that we've brought into EXP. Talk everything from, like we're doing here, listing presentations, scripts, buyer scripts, seller scripts, what we're seeing in the market, generally speaking, some tricks of the trade and getting your offer accepted in multiples, just all real relevant things that are, and I saw something on the chat here. Somebody mentioned, what do you do if you're in a slump? Well, that's one of the best things you can do when you're in a slump is jump on those mastermind calls, and people will help get you back up to where you need to be. Quite frankly, if you're slumping, you probably don't have enough accountability around you to help you get out of that slump. So you want to make sure, and nobody likes that word accountable. It seems like it's a bad word. But it's a fantastic word if you have people who are there to really help you and give you 1 or 2 really good nuggets to get you out of that slump and move forward. And we all go into slumps. We all do. And those of us who've been in the business longer just know what it is that needs to be done to get yourself out of it. And sometimes it can be some agents surrounding me like, hey, you know what you need to do to get out of it. And what it boils down to is getting back down to your 1 hour, 2 hours a day of prospecting. Because it's really easy if you have a really good couple months and you see your bank account building to kind of step back a little bit and kind of enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? But all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 months down the road, you're going to also see the things that you hadn't been doing because it shows up. So, having those mastermind calls, having these sessions like we have here within EXP, if you're ever feeling like you're against the wall on getting deal flow, you got to jump into these sessions because there could be one thing that triggers you right there to get you right back in the game.
Yeah, that's rad, man. A lot of times I would talk about like slumps and motivations, and guys who are just, I don't want to be mean, but I just want to be like very real. If you're in a slump, maybe that's potentially, hey, we got a lot going on in our lives, maybe in our personal lives that it's there. But in our business life, like Kathleen said, your actions now show up 90 days later. So you have to actually ask yourself, where did you end up kind of getting into that slump and what caused it? And I think accountability is exactly that point, Rob. That's the highest form of love. It's one of the highest forms of love. It's because you're calling someone and reminding them who they are and to what they committed to do. Say it again. You're reminding somebody who they are and what they committed to do. if you haven't committed to anything, well, then go ahead and start with that business plan, right? Like you have to have a plan. You can't just get in and be like, oh yeah, I like to see houses and I like decorating things, right? Like, so if you committed, I'm going to sell 2 homes a month, 3 homes a month, whatever it is, then getting someone around you says, hey man, like you committed to doing this. So are you relentless? Like Kathleen's saying, are you going to sign off for the day? Did you do what you said you were going to do? Because you yourself are likely giving yourself that permission to be complacent. You're giving yourself that permission to not do the work. And unfortunately, this is one of those businesses where no one's there to pick up your slack and close the houses for you and pay your mortgage for you. You have to do it. So it is a tough look. It sounds mean, but it's not. It's just a bunch of love. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful. So I think Winifred in the chat, you've got some good stuff. Reward yourself for successes, then jump back into routine. Yeah, that's really good. I think rewarding ourselves with these smaller wins and those milestones are so important, because as real estate agents, it's like, even if you're just rewarding yourself from closing to closing, sometimes you need a weekly win. And that might be, having an appointment and, giving yourself a high five for that, or having somebody around you give you the high five for that. So that's awesome. Kathleen, definitely getting some love here on that. So awesome. Great value that you guys are providing. Anything else that you guys want to hear in the chat? Otherwise, we will be signing off for the day. No? Okay. Well, I am fine, having done this a whole bunch. I'm sure Kathleen, you have as well, and Bob. We did pretty good. We self-moderated. We self-moderated. I don't know where Gary and Paige are, but wish them the best. Monica, I hope you're doing okay as well. Thank you guys for hanging with us and for listening. Definitely find us in Workplace. I've already sent out, I think, 5 business plans so far. So feel free to reach out. And love doing these with you, Kathleen. It's been fun.
Thank you. It's been fun, David.
All right.
You guys have a great weekend.
You too.
Yeah, you're a great one. Happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Awesome, guys.